Good afternoon and welcome to Second Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances, and through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson, as always, delighted to be here with you in the studio for the broadcast. We air every Sunday from 2 until 4 p.m. Central Standard Time at Praise 90.1 FM on your radio. And we also air on WJLU.org on the internet, and we live stream on Facebook and YouTube at Praise 90.1 FM. Today's a very special day because on tomorrow, I will officially retire from not just my job here at the city of Huntsville, but from my professional career. And I'm excited about that and thought that I would have a special day of emphasis on the journey. Joining me this afternoon is my good friend and co-founder of this broadcast, David Perez, who I'm actually going to turn the host duties over to today and allow him to kind of navigate this process in whatever way he chooses to. It's unscripted. It's not a roast, but I have no idea the way he's going to handle it. But he's the consummate professional, so I've entrusted him with this awesome opportunity. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, what's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic this afternoon, and it's good to see you and know that we're going to go on this journey together.
Yeah, man, this is going to be fun. You and I have done this more than once, not just on radio, but on the TV show that you used to do for the city of Huntsville. So it's always fun to see the script flipped, so to speak, and to see you in the hot seat as opposed to being the one who is directing traffic. So.
Well, I've learned over the years that when I'm in the hot seat, I should have a fire extinguisher close by. So I've got one right over here just in case things start burning up. And we got to put the flames out.
Well, you know what has burned up, I think, what's been on fire, maybe is a better way to say it, has been your career. And I say that not in a in the traditional sense that people will say things like that where they suggest that somebody has really been just racking up accolades and making lots of money and whatever. And of course, you've done all of that, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're really talking about, I think, today is service to the Huntsville Madison County community and beyond. And as I look at the lineup of people that you have as guests for today, to me, that all speaks of service, Kenny. Mm-hmm. You don't have hedge fund owners or celebrities, Hollywood celebrities on here. Even though you've interviewed some of those folks too through the years. I don't know about hedge fund owners, but I know you've interviewed some Hollywood celebrities on this broadcast. And but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people who, like you, have been serving this community in one form or fashion for a number of years. So kudos to you for that, brother. There's no greater legacy that one can have than a legacy of service, right?
I absolutely agree with that. And I'm so grateful to have a mindfulness mindset that allows me to focus on that very thing. And of course, there are some wonderful and awesome people ready to talk today. And, there's my sister Jackie just popped on. What's happening, Tiki? Good to see you on the broadcast today. And welcome all of you who are joining us on the live stream as well. I see you popping in here, and it's great to see you today. And again, if you're just joining us, my good friend David Perez and the co-founder of the Second Chance broadcast is driving the ship today. And I think our first guest is ready to talk.
All right. Well, first, let me remind folks that, of course, the basis for this broadcast is radio. So we are on 90.1 FM, WJOU in Huntsville in North Alabama. But of course, Kenny also streams the show on Facebook Live. And that's at Praise 90.1 FM on Facebook and on YouTube at Praise 90.1 FM there. So you got three ways at least that you can engage with this broadcast. And, and however you choose to do it is fine with us. We're happy as long as you're engaging. So our first guest, if I'm not mistaken, is someone that Kenny has known for probably, I'm going to take a wild shot here and say probably at least 30 years.
Yeah, 40.
40 years. Okay,
Yep.
40 years. She is someone I've known for probably at least 20 years, if not longer. Judy Guerry is with us. And look at Judy. Hey, Judy. Look at Judy. How you doing, Judy?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Good.
Yeah.
So, Judy, let's get you started here by having you reflect for a minute on how you and Kenny got to know each other.
Very glad to do that. I was working at the Huntsville Rehabilitation Center, started there in 75, it is now Phoenix, but I won't get to that yet. But around 1980, 81, we received a grant, a CETA grant. Some will remember that, Comprehensive Employment and Training Act. And we had two positions that we could fund for that. We're always trying to find some good help, so to speak. And so Kenny applied for one of those positions. And I was so positively impressed with you, Kenny, with what I heard from you, the passion. And it was all about serving people and strengthening community and working for the common good. So I knew that that's something that we wanted to bring you on, and we did. And so you started working in that capacity directly with people with disabilities, encouraging, supporting, sometimes challenging, helping people to develop those kinds of work behaviors and habits that would help them to keep jobs as they went on. And then when there was an opening, professional opening in our adjustment services program, you applied for that. And I was so delighted. And yet I knew that there could be a little bit of a hiccup, maybe with our funders, because you had to interrupt or pause, and you did not yet have your degree. So I thought, this cannot be a showstopper. And no, we worked with you, our funders, and with our staff overall, and came up with the idea that we would bring you on board if you would agree to have that degree completed at Oakwood within a certain reasonable time. And you said, oh yeah. And we said, oh yeah. And so you came on board then, and what a difference you made, and what a positive person, skillful and dedicated, and with a vision.
Yeah.
For yourself and for the people whom you served, Kenny.
Yeah. So Judy, so Judy, tell me, what is one of the what's one gem of a story that you can share with us with the limited amount of time we have that really epitomizes either your relationship with Kenny or Kenny's relationship with what was once Huntsville Rehabilitation Center and the people that he served there?
Well, I was so, again, positively impressed with what I learned of him right at the very beginning. And then he just, not only did he complete that degree, I mean, he was committed to going on and realizing a vision. And so he went and completed this master's degree while working full-time in a professional position. He developed training modules, and he met one-on-one and in groups with the people that were in his particular charge, so to speak. And so all of that, his commitment, I think really impressed me, because he was able to do that and go ahead and get his master's in counseling from A&M. And then he didn't stop with us. He went on
Right.
to Calhoun, and I know somebody else will be talking about that. But
Right. So let's get to you, Judy. Let's get to you and your relationship with Kenny. What do you think defines the specialness of it? This 40-year relationship that you guys have had as friends and good, not just friends, but really good friends.
Right, really good friends. Well, there was an expression that I heard a long time ago about, on a spiritual basis, connecting with somebody at the place where the words come from. And that I felt that with Kenny. And I felt it increasingly as we have worked and collaborated together and been friends over the years, that there is this spiritual awareness and connection and relationship with the one who holds us all, who supported our relationship and other relationships that are life-giving. And I think that's probably something really foundational. Another thing is that, in the words of one of my favorite authors, Marilyn Lingle, she talked about how she wanted to take herself seriously enough to take herself lightly. And I saw that in Kenny. I mean, he knew who he was and what he had been through and what he was planning to go through more. And so he knew that he was solid and grounded. And so he could bend like a tree when things came at him, slings and arrows. And so I witnessed that over the years too, David.
Beautiful. That's such a sweet way to put it, Judy. Any quick final thoughts before we transition to the next person? Because Judy, as you can imagine, we got a list of folks here that want to get in on this.
I know you do. Just one quick thing that my stepmother used to say, give me my roses while I yet live. And I thought, here we are with bouquets of roses for Kenny, with his being very alive and preparing himself to go on to the next endeavor, whatever that may be. So I'm grateful for that, David.
Awesome. Judy, it's always good to see you.
David, can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
And I'll make it real quick, but, I've worked in the space of DEI since 1995. And, of course, that was elevated over the last roughly 11 and a half years through my work at the city of Huntsville. Judy, as much as anybody over this 40-year journey, has taught me the truths of DEI, from her own transparency, her authenticity, her commitment about various things, and her willingness to share those with other people. I have learned from you, Judy. I have grown from you. And you're someone who, even after I left the Huntsville Rehab Center / Phoenix, always wanted to somehow maintain a personal relationship with. And I feel so honored to have been able to do that over the years.
Thank you so much. And it's very mutual, Kenny. That's the beauty of it. Very mutual.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Judy, thank you so much. Like I was saying, it's always good to see you, chat with you, and I echo Kenny's sentiments in terms of our relationship. I've learned a lot about DEI from my relationship with you, so I can say a hearty amen to what Kenny just said. Bless you, Judy, and we'll see you soon, God willing.
Thanks. God bless.
Thank you, Judy.
All right. That's Judy Guerry. Judy was Kenny's colleague at what was once the Huntsville Rehabilitation Center, is now Phoenix. And for those of you who don't know, Phoenix is a wonderful nonprofit, one of the hidden gems really in our community that provides jobs and job placement services for people with disabilities and other related services. And, in all transparency, Phoenix has been a client of mine on and off over the past 10 plus years. And of course, we know Kenny has had a relationship with them too. But I think both of us would say, even if we hadn't had a relationship with Phoenix is an amazing organization. And anybody who's got, issues related to having a disability or a family member with a disability should absolutely reach out to Phoenix for support. All right, my brother. We have other people lined up here ready to go. I believe we have Marilyn Grundy with us from the National Children's Advocacy Center.
Hi.
Hey, Miss Grundy, good to see you. And so you and Kenny, I know, have had a relationship professionally, at the very least professionally, through the years. Talk about your connection to Kenny Anderson.
You know, I remember I was thinking back when we first met, and it seems like I've always known Kenny, and I can't remember not knowing Kenny. I was working as the Symposium coordinator for the Children's Advocacy Center. This was in the late 80s, and trying to find speakers to speak at our large, then it was a national conference, now it's an international conference, and someone suggested Kenny, and late 80s, I'm going to say, and Kenny was just a hit. And the whole time I was with the program, I retired about 7 years ago, but the whole time I was there, if his schedule permitted, we had him speaking, and he was one of the favorites, and we had people literally from all over the world presenting. And sometimes people would say, "Oh, is Kenny coming this year?" And I'd say, "Yeah, he is. We did, maybe have 100 presenters all together." So it's been a long journey, Kenny, but it's been a good one.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and it is just so good to see you. I did not know you had transitioned to North Carolina, and I, of course, have to ask you, is everything going well there? Because I know the storm came through that state, and just want to make sure you're okay.
Thanks for asking. I hate to sound so dumb, and I will now. We were at the beach, and more or less always make this pact not to listen to the news while we're at the beach, and really knew we were having bad weather, but did not realize the devastation it was.
Wow.
I live in Chapel Hill, and when we got home, our rain gauge had 6 inches of rain, but no damage whatsoever. We were not on Interstate I-40, which was good. So we didn't have any of the traffic issues. So fortunately, my area is fine. The rest of the state is just, as you know, just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. But
I'm going to follow up with Kenny with a question about that too, because for our listeners, just to give them a sense of geography here, where is Chapel Hill in relationship to the coastal areas and the mountain areas that have been hit?
If you can imagine, we're more or less, if you divided the state in half, we're on the center, a little bit east of the real center, about 2.5 hours from the ocean, and about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours to the mountains. The devastation really occurred around, obviously, as we keep hearing, Asheville, and then also the western part of the state. And I'm mostly in the middle. Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh are kind of just right there in the center.
Right.
Yeah, and I was in Asheville about a month ago.
That's what you said.
Yeah, I was there for a conference with the Appalachian Leadership Commission, and it was an alumni meeting from the larger group that has been together now for a period of time, and got to spend some time with my good friends and David's friends also, Ted and Beverly Robinson. So I have reached out to them, and I know other people have reached out. They've also reached out on social media to keep us apprised of what's going on. And we've seen damage all over parts of North Carolina, Georgia, and some other places where people have been hit. So our thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals who are perhaps experiencing those challenges right now. We know it can't be easy, but we're mindful of the challenges that people are facing right now.
What, Marilyn, what would you say? You talked about Kenny being such a popular speaker at the National Children's Advocacy Center Symposium, annual symposium. What would you say made him such a popular speaker?
His wealth of knowledge, but his enthusiasm that was it in my mind. Upbeat, positive, and the subject matter, motivational speaking, and also diversity. And I remember I was thinking back after you kindly asked me to do this. One of the better workshops I remember was Kenny and a lady, Mary Migliaro, who is white with blonde hair, and walking by the classroom, which was pretty full, and having Kenny and Mary talking on diversification. I thought, what a genius. I don't know if Kenny thought of it or Mary. I did not. But it was just a great workshop, and his willingness to dig deep into issues and put a positive spin on everything.
Do you remember that moment, Kenny?
Yeah, in fact, it went so well, we did it again. I think the next year. Yeah. And it was Mary's idea. We kind of heard about each other because that's kind of what happens in those spaces. You kind of hear about a particular workshop that people enjoyed, and then the presenters kind of hear about other people. And so we kind of found each other and started talking about and planning to work together and deliver the message. And I kind of let Mary take the lead because she had such a powerful presentation that was also very engaging. It was interactive, and it helped people kind of work through their own perspectives on these questions and these challenges. She did a lot of, in fact, she's one of the first people I remember back in the day who used a lot of video with her presentation. And then she would stop, and then we would have conversation and small group dialogue. So I absolutely remember that. And again, it went so well that we decided to do it again. And we've connected with each other over the years at various times just to kind of keep in touch with each other.
And Kenny, what made working with the National Children's Advocacy Center so attractive to you?
I was a mental health professional, and I was fully aware of this amazing symposium that had just national status. And I was so proud of the fact that the movement began right here in this city, and the work that Bud Kramer had laid. And just, I was just blown away that, I'm living in a city where all of these things are happening. And in my work in mental health, we often did multidisciplinary teamwork. And when I heard that there was a group over here that was doing that kind of thing too, and having an impact on children and youth and families, I was like, wow, I definitely need to be aligned with them in some way, if nothing more than knowing that they are a resource that is having an impact, not just locally, but around the nation and then around the world. So I saw the symposium. I sought out an opportunity to present. When I was given that opportunity or that invitation, I took full advantage of it because I just saw it as a collaborative way of lending my skills and talents and my interests to someone who also had the same kind of energy and passion for serving people, for helping people, supporting people and families. And so for me, it was just a win-win. And again, this was a premier conference. And, there are conferences around this nation and even around the world that you can call premier conferences. It's like the conference that everyone wants to be at because they know that they're going to have the best workshops, subject matter experts, networking sessions, and more. And this was one of them. And so I thought I better take advantage of this while I'm living in this city, and met Marilyn. And Marilyn, I got to tell you, every time I showed up at the conference, well, first of all, every time I got the invitation to come back, I was excited. But then I would show up at the conference. I always had an exhibit space, so I was able to engage with people in that process. And Marilyn would be an absolute workhorse, just moving through that Von Braun Center from one end of the center to the other. She was the point person. She was the go-to person. I mean, Marilyn was getting it done, and it was always inspiring to see her doing what she was doing and moving the way she was moving.
Marilyn, I want to ask you real quickly before we run out of time, if you can kind of briefly tell us what the National Children's Advocacy Center is, what its mission is.
Be happy to. As Kenny said, this was a program that began in Huntsville under Bud Kramer's leadership, who was the district attorney. At that time, it was in 1983, 84 timeframe. And he recognized the need for helping abused children getting through the court system in a more efficient and dignified manner. And so a group of professionals came together. I served on the task force. I always referred to myself as the token housewife because I was the only one not working. So I had time to do the leg work and everything. And we identified the need, which now there are more than 3,000 children's advocacy centers across the world. And basically what it is, it's, as Kenny said earlier, a multidisciplinary approach to helping abused child and hopefully the family members, the non-abusive family members also. That's a very simplified explanation of it, but it gives you a good capsule.
Wow, 3,000 centers. That's
pretty
incredible.
Amazing. What began with a small little group in Huntsville, Alabama.
I remember that. I remember
the first
Bud Kramer doing that.
Yeah. The first children's advocacy center was a little house on Lincoln Street, 106 Lincoln Street. It's still there. I think it had been massage therapist place and it had been a curious place, but that was the original children's advocacy center. So.
Kenny, any final thoughts you want to share with Marilyn before we transition to the next person?
Yeah, Marilyn, there have been people on my journey who have just consistently poured into me, have consistently given me opportunities, who have consistently been cheerleaders and advocates for the work that I've done. And you are absolutely one of those individuals. When we were thinking about this whole effort that we're doing today, I said, wouldn't it be really cool, since it's kind of a fifth Sunday, to have a retrospective of my life's journey? Because tomorrow is my official retirement day, or my last day on the job. My official retirement date is on Tuesday. And so I started thinking about the people who have been key people on my journey. And because I spent 25 plus years at the National Children's Advocacy Center, not just working on the Symposium, but also the Southern region advocacy program that takes place in summers, and working and aligning with so many different things. I'm in and out of that building from time to time for other reasons, because of other groups. I just feel so much a part of the National Children's Advocacy Center. To use a basketball analogy, I feel like the sixth man for NCAC. Like, I've always been a part of this organization that has been a stellar organization, and it's largely because of the relationship that we have and the opportunity that you provided me so long ago. So thank you so much for what you've done for me over the years.
Well, and I want to say thank you too. You've done so much for the whole city, in addition to being a good friend to me. And I'll just say this, and then I know y'all have other people. I always say, and I refer to Kenny when I say this, teamwork makes the dream work. And I have two little granddaughters here. And the other day, she was 5 at the time, she's 6 now. She said to her younger sister, Maggie, teamwork makes the dream work. And I know that's not original with you, but I always think of you on that one. So you're still a very important part of me.
Oh, wow. That is awesome, Marilyn. It's so good to see you, and I look forward to future conversations.
And thank you for including me in this. I'm honored. Good luck in your retirement.
Thank you.
Y'all stay safe. Thank you.
All right, Marilyn, you too. Marilyn Grundy, formerly with the National Children's Advocacy Center. So, Kenny, you said that tomorrow is your last official day. Are you saying that you're literally going to be in the office tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm going in. Friday I left, and it could have been the last day, but then we had a big health fair yesterday over at Calhoun that actually went very well. We were very happy to be able to partner with the 100 Black Men and the Links and the Deltas and LULAC, which is the League of United Latin American Citizens, and more. And I thought about today. I'm doing the show today, and then I thought, well, gee, I've got a few drawers that I have to pack up. So I just wait till Monday and make sure I've got all my documents signed and all the other stuff that needs to be done. I have no appointments tomorrow. I'm just going to kind of be in the office because some people have said they want to come by and see me, and that's perfectly fine. So since I'm going to take the rest of my career off after tomorrow, I thought, yeah, go on Monday. No big deal.
Okay. Well, you're a better man than I am because I think I'd have bounced on my last day. Been like, peace, I'm out.
Man,
especially coming on a Monday. Come on, man.
Yeah, to each his own, man. I'm retired for the rest of my life, which is what a lot of people can't say.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a good place.
All right. Well, you do you, brother.
Yes, sir.
You do you. And but rest assured, if my last day ever comes, I'm gonna be skipping. I'm gonna play hooky my last day.
You should. You should. If you feel strongly about that, you should.
Yeah. I'll tell you something I feel strongly about, and that's our friendship with a really good brother, Daniel Kasambira. He is the president and CEO of United Way of Madison County. He calls himself a servant leader, and I think that's a good way to describe him, though he is the president and CEO of United Way of Madison County. Daniel, you're looking comfy there, man, on a Sunday afternoon. How you doing?
Yeah, doing really well, man. Just watching the President's Cup and some football games and just trying to relax today. So it's been a great day.
I hear you, man.
Church this morning, and so it's been a great day.
Yeah. Church is a great way to start your day, and then segue to sports.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a good plan right there.
Exactly.
I got some WNBA playing in the background here as I do the show, so I'm with you on that, brother.
I can't golf today because of the weather, but so you just take what you can.
Oh, you squeeze in some golf too? Okay.
I tried. I can't in this weather. I'm not that good. So
okay, all right. All right.
I wouldn't have missed this for the world, though.
Well, good, because I know, just from, we three, we work together and have worked together on Jazz in the Park and other things. So we could not do this kind of a retrospective of Kenny's career as a servant leader himself without, I think, having you on. Daniel, how did you and Kenny first become acquainted?
Well, it's funny how things come full circle, because when Kenny was just sharing about how the 100 Black men had their annual day yesterday, and their big health fair, and that's how Kenny and I met. I was at the Wellness Center at Alabama A&M, and had the opportunity to be able to just spend some time with Kenny. Came over and met me and introduced me to the community, and was just said, "Hey, Daniel, we'd love to do something at the Wellness Center." And lo and behold, you say the saying that some people come in your life for a reason, some come for season, some come for a lifetime. And I believe that was our lifetime. And I want to be friends with Kenny and you, David, for my lifetime. So I'm blessed because of you two. That's how we met. It's come full circle now.
Yeah, man. What do you recall about that, Kenny?
Yeah, look, it's really, I think, Dan, you just summarized it in a way that I'm going to steal from you for a moment, because, the hope of a lifetime relationship with Daniel Kasambira is like a gold mine to me. I mean, this is one of the most dedicated, committed, other-centered, fully involved people that I know on the planet. I'm saying that in all sincerity because he is just that. And when I met Daniel, we were simply trying to find a space that would accommodate what we thought was a great community project. And when you talk to people sometimes and present the notion of partnering with them, they don't always understand it, they don't always get it, and they don't always open up their opportunities or their arms to the proposal. And I'm not saying everyone should, but Daniel never hiccuped, he never hesitated. And Daniel's one of those people that he's always thinking about, okay, well, here's an idea. Let's figure out how to make it happen. Let's figure out if it'll work. Let's figure out if it makes sense. I mean, he's always in that particular space. So when we first met, that's exactly what it was. We didn't exactly know what we had in terms of the Wellness Center, but Daniel made us feel at home. and he made us feel welcome. And from that, we began having relationships that were very productive in not just that area, but other areas in the community as well. And when I realized that our missions, our hearts were aligned, I knew that I had a friend for life, because Daniel is the real deal. I watch how he sort of finessed the process with us as an organization, but then I had the additional opportunity to see how he ran the center and engage people from the community. And that was all very inspiring for me. So that's the person that Daniel is, and that's why we've had such a great relationship over the years.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and I just think that just amazing what Kenny has done in our community, and has made me feel welcome, because I just moved here to Huntsville, never been here before, and just embraced me, and I'm privileged and honored to be in the position I am because of people like Kenny.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about your role with United Way, and where Kenny fits into that, because I know Kenny has had a relationship with United Way and continues to have one.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I got more involved with United Way all the impact that Kenny had. He served as a board member. He's been a donor for years. He's been someone who has served as the chair of our campaign. He served as the board chair. So, and then lo and behold, he allows us to have once a quarter United Way Sundays. So he's kept us relevant in our community. He's kept us involved and engaged. And it was great last year to this past May to have him come back, and he hosted a Southeast Region Conference for us. He was the MC. And similar to the lady that spoke right before me, Kenny wowed him. So I think he's going to probably get a lot of business going forward. So he's going to be busy with all the United Ways across the country. We have the national United Way CEO here, and she said, I want to use you, and all those other United Way folks. So all I'm asking Kenny is for 20% of what he makes on those. And that's no, but he's just who he is. And to get in any kind of space and to be able to communicate, it's a gift. I mean, these are people that he never met, majority never met before, but was able to come in and put his spin on things, and just amazing. It's just a gift. So Kenny's not only impacting United Way Madison County here, but he's impacting United Ways across the world with the work he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And Kenny, what about pardon me, what about on your end? What attracted you specifically to United Way even before Daniel took over as the president CEO?
When I was a young production manager assistant, which was my first job at the Huntsville Rehab Center, and then became a work adjustment professional, we had an opportunity to do something way back when, and that was something that Daniel will recognize immediately: payroll deduction. And there were opportunities to support United Way through that process. Now, there has to always be some understanding of what you're doing in any particular space and time that actually perhaps enhances whatever the decision is about what you choose to do. Case in point, when I started investing in the stock market, I started thinking about, well, what are the things that I spend money on? And what companies represent that particular thing? Perhaps I need stock in those particular companies. If I believe that much in a product and the stock is doing well, maybe that's what I should be doing. Well, it was the same thing for me with United Way. If United Way supports agencies like Huntsville Rehab / Phoenix, and that we're aligned in terms of how we're thinking about things, then that became a very attractive thing for me. And I've always wanted to be a part of an organization that makes a difference in people's lives. That's exactly what the United Way lives and breathes. And when you look at the effort that they make to create an umbrella of opportunity and assistance and support across the landscape of this great community that is both engaging and philanthropic, the United Way represents so much in that context. I got a chance to serve on a board with some of the most dedicated and invested people who are accountable to the organization, who are accountable to the community, All of these things were attractive things that drew me into that process. And because of people who come into the role of leader, and I've known a number of the CEOs at United Way over the years, but when you have someone like a Daniel Kasambira who comes into this space with no desire for himself to become, better in a selfish kind of way, because he's got a big title now.
Right.
But he's literally thinking before he takes the job about how can I improve the quality of people's lives. Why would you not want to be aligned with somebody like that? Why would you not want to support an organization like that? So I've got Daniel. Daniel has my number. I'm sure it's on speed dial, but that United Way number is kind of aligned with that as well. It's on speed dial.
Sure.
Anytime this organization needs me, they can call on me. And Daniel knows that. People at work didn't know that. And because we have a mutual and bidirectional relationship that is beneficial, that becomes important for both of us.
All right. Now, as the host, I just want to warn our special guests that we do have a number of people lined up to talk about you and with you. So, try to be mindful of I'm just doing what you do to us on Second Chance during the What's Going On segments. Kenny sometimes will have to remind us, brothers, you need to be mindful of your answers because, we got other things to cover. So.
Well, I'm also still the host. So,
Okay.
So
he's gonna flex on me now. So
yeah, I'm still the host.
You probably cut your mic off, Dave.
Yeah, he can do that too. He's got the ability to come.
His video, his mic, we can really go hard, but
the whole, that's how the New Yorkers roll. That's how they roll. That's how they roll. Daniel, just real quick, any final thoughts on Kenny and his value to the community as you see fit?
Yeah, one of the things that I say don't say very often, but the thing is, Father Time is undefeated, and Kenny's got a special gift that keeps reinventing himself over and over and over again, not for himself, but to better others and other people. That's also a gift. He's done so many things. When he told me his age the other day, I was like, "Are you serious, Kenny?" To keep his heart, mind, body, and spirit, and it's amazing. So I consider people like Kenny and you, David, my heroes. I'm trying to be and get where you're at. Not saying you guys are old, but just trying to get where you're at, so I can learn and grow and develop and hopefully make an impact in our community. So I always say this to Kenny, as much as possible, I love you, brother. And I thank you for everything you've done and continue to do in my life because I count it an honor to be your friend, to be a brother in Christ, and just be able to know that I want to do more things going forward with you. And I laugh because we're involved in so many different things and we cross over in so many different areas. And we're usually the first ones there at events and the last ones to leave, even when it's not our events. And so I know we're going to look at each other and say, okay, we're looking to make a long-term impact because we believe in just a commitment to excellence, a commitment to make a difference in people's lives. And I couldn't do what I do without either one of you guys. And thank you, Kenny, for your friendship.
Thank you. I appreciate you and love you too, brother.
Right,
that's wonderful, Daniel. Thank you. And there's a big age gap between me and Kenny, so don't put us in the same age category.
So Kenny's 67, you're 77, and David.
Hey, the other way around, man. You're going the wrong direction.
We're running short on time, but I gotta say that because I am still the host of this show. So it's amazing to me. It's always amazing to me that people will kind of talk about your age in some strange kind of way. And I'm always trying to, here I am, Daniel. I'm always trying to contain myself because 67 looks good here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anybody that challenges my age needs to be careful. They need to be like, well, wait a minute now. That brother looks like he's like 10 years younger than me. I need to be careful. I need to be careful about those kinds of things.
That is true. And I have told you on more than one occasion that when I look at you and I look at me in the mirror, I'm like, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture because I know how old you are and I know how old I am, and I know that I'm like, okay, God, what's the deal? Anyway, it's genes, I guess. Genes and good clean living, I guess.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. Daniel, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you, man, and we definitely value what you do in this community also, and also what United Way does. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, brother. Love you, man.
Love you both. Take care, guys. Thank you very much.
You too, man. You too. Daniel Kasambira, the president, CEO, and servant leader of United Way. Speaking of looks, I would be remiss if I did not comment on what appears to be on my screen a pink suit. Is that what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I kind of refer to this as a salmon color.
Oh, salmon color.
And but it's in the pink category.
Okay. It's whatever it is what I would call a jaunty look. Very celebratory, vibrant.
Yes.
Kind of looks like you're about to and I like this, and I like the shirt combination too. It makes me think that maybe you and Sonia are about to go to a smooth jazz club or something. That's what it looks like to me.
I am headed somewhere, yes. And Sonia was at one point as well, but she's not now. But she's kind of taking advantage of a wet, rainy Sunday afternoon and catching up on a little rest. So I'm going to represent this afternoon.
I don't blame her for that. I don't blame her for that at all. I believe, have next in line, Kenny, someone I know you have had a very long, close personal relationship with, and that's State Representative Rex Reynolds, who is a former employee of the city of Huntsville. Nisi, am I right about that? Is Rex Reynolds with us? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so then I think who we've got next then is Dr. Kenneth Sullivan, who is with Fox Army Hospital and Charter Retreat Hospital. Those are Kenny's connections to Dr. Sullivan. How are you, sir?
Kenny, how you doing? David, it's good seeing you. I'm fine. And I'm not with those places anymore, but I was when Kenny and I were working together. So I think to a large extent, to the extent we talk about that, that's history, and it can, I will tell you, Kenny, I was thinking about that, of course, in anticipation of meeting with you here. And it reminds me of the Bruce Springsteen line, someday we'll look back on this and it will all seem funny. Those were days of our youth, I think. And there were some, you might even say challenges, maybe even some, struggles. But, I was so pleased and proud to have been with you through some of those. Yeah. And I'm so glad that some of that is behind us, and life has gone on and moved on, frankly, to, especially you've moved on to bigger and better things.
Well, if I can, if you, to the extent that you want to share what you know about the challenge that I confronted at Charter Retreat Hospital, it's something I share all the time. And
do you?
Oh, all the time, because it was a life learning experience for so many different reasons that was layered also. But the impact you had on my life as a consequence of that moment literally transformed me in ways that I don't think I've ever shared with you. So I don't know what you recall about it, but I would love to hear from you. And then if there's anything I need to fill in, I'd be happy to fill in. Or if you want me to take the lead, I'll take the lead.
Well, no, I'll be glad you invited me. I first met you, of course, when I was the psychologist at Fox Hospital, and you were placed on a kind of a rotation under my supervision you were a student at A&M, getting your master's degree at the time, and I had that pleasure and honor to supervise students, and they would roll through for some number of weeks at a time, and you stood out immediately. And I heard some discussion earlier. I thought you were more younger than than you were. I thought I was taking on this, young whippersnapper, but you were mature beyond your years, and so poised. And so, you made a big impression on me, and then you went on your way and I continued. But then I left Fox Hospital and went into private practice full time. But I took on because, I wasn't established that much in the community. I took on a part-time gig. I took on part-time work for Charter, and I was a psychologist that did, worked by the hour for them. And lo and behold, you got hired to be the manager of the office that I worked in.
Yep.
So, I wouldn't say that I worked under you, but you administered everything. You were the boss of the place, so I kind of did. And that was another pleasure and honor. Mm-hmm. And Charter, I want to be careful here, but it's not Charter anymore anyway, right?
No.
They didn't do well by you. And they, I think they fired you, or at least they let you go.
They did.
And I knew your work. I knew you there. I saw how you ran that office. And so I think you know this. I think I gave you a copy of I resigned in protest over you being fired. And then, I had my private practice going and I had a little bit of work. And so you may recall you worked in my office.
Yes.
And I paid you some.
Yes.
And that was a pleasure. And I knew, because I knew how I would have felt, to be suddenly, without an income. Mm-hmm. I did what I could. Yeah. I guess I'll just say that. So I'm interested. I don't know what more to say. You did it for a little while, but you got on your feet. It didn't go on for even a year.
No.
But it was, I think it was probably an important chapter for both of us. I had an opportunity to help out a little bit, and you had the opportunity to get your feet under you, and then the rest is history, Kenny.
Yeah, when I say that was a transformative moment in my life, and I wanted you to share that, and I was definitely interested in hearing about what your recollection was. In January of 1992, the administration basically presented something to me that was rather jarring, and they had an expectation of me over 3 months to increase the revenue in the center well beyond what was possible to do. Now, I don't necessarily think everything is impossible, but the kinds of demands they were making or expectations that they proposed were probably not going to happen. So it felt like I was placed in a no-win situation that was carried forward to May. I was fired because they said I failed to meet performance goals. I remember you resigned in protest. I remember you brought me into your private practice. It created stability for my life. And then in the fall of that year, I went to work at UAH. And so I have always felt a tremendous debt in some ways to you. Not that you felt I owed you something, but I know that during that time, that was critical to my ability to move forward. Because it can't feel good to get fired. And it can't feel good for no fault of your own to be in that situation. But Ken, you stood in there with me. And always, when I share that with people, I say, it wasn't because he owed me something, it's because of our relationship. You knew who I was. You understood what I had to bring to the table. We had built that relationship and cultivated that relationship. And that's why that happened as a consequence of that. So thank you so much for what you did for me so long ago.
Well, you're certainly welcome. And I do say again, it was an honor. And it's been such a pleasure to see your career just, going and going. And you've done more and more and more for larger and larger groups. I've gone I've gone in the opposite direction. I went into a private practice. And so, I intervene and work with people one at a time, pretty much. You work with the whole community. So, my whole career and my life to a large extent has gotten kind of quiet and just, there's a certain intimacy with each person I work with, but other than that, I'm not hardly a public figure like you are. But it's been so great, to watch your career and to have you here in the community doing what you've been doing.
Dr. Sullivan, I want to ask you about something here that you and Kenny have done that I think is very healthy, but also very unusual. I don't know very many people who publicly talk about, such an impactful, but also equally negative event in their lives. Few people will disclose when they've been fired, lost a job, had some kind of professional defeat, if you will, or setback of that magnitude. What does it say to you that my man, our friend Kenny here, has been so open about this and willing to discuss this publicly through the years?
Well, yeah, I think it says a lot about Kenny. Kenny, you said it here now, and I think I've heard you say it another time when I was speaking in a panel with your church some time back. It was over guns and gun violence, and you gave words of appreciation to me then in that venue, and I certainly was kind of flattered and surprised because the way you talk, Kenny, it was a bigger deal to you than it was to me, and I suppose it would be, although again it was quite a pleasure to me to be able, to do that. So Kenny talking about it, I think it just speaks to Kenny's appreciation on one hand and a certain humility, like what's the big deal? He got fired, Never got fired since, did you?
No, it's never happened again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's never happened again. And it speaks to, again, the reverse of that for me then again becomes the reason I can talk about this and have talked about it for years now is because I did nothing wrong. And
yes.
Oftentimes I'm sharing with people that you can be in situations where you're doing everything you should possibly be doing and the outcome or the consequences will still not fall in your favor. So I use it kind of like an object lesson oftentimes that you can be. And at that time, I say this is the addition to the story. I had never been in a situation where I had a better work schedule. I was working 12 hours a day, 4 days a week. So I had every weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had never made as much money in my profession as I had before. I was less than a half a mile from my apartment away from my job. Ooh. I mean, it was a sweet situation. And yet it lasted for 3 years and then it was gone. And I did nothing. In fact, what I did was I did everything to do my job for the company and still lost the opportunity to be there for no fault of my own.
Right.
And I kind of go on with the story and talk about how Charter went bankrupt a few years later and that kind of thing, because that's the rest of the story as well. And I was terrified that I would have to tell people for the rest of my life that I was fired from a job. I was terrified in that moment. And when I realized that as I started looking for another job, people were literally saying, well, we never had much respect for them anyway.
Wow.
2 companies literally told me that. We never had much respect for their business practices. We never had much respect for the way they kind of bullied the marketing process and more. And whatever they interpreted that as, they did. But what I thought would be a deal breaker working against me became a game changer for me. And that is how I share that with people and why I'm able to share that with people today.
Kudos to you nonetheless, because most people are not transparent enough to publicly discuss setbacks and failures. So I think anytime a person is willing to do that, I know my respect quotient for them goes up, because that's just not human nature. It's not what we do.
Yeah.
And social media is a great example of that, I think. Dr. Sullivan, you are no longer with Fox Army Hospital or Charter. Of course, Charter doesn't exist anymore. What are you currently doing?
Well, I'm in private practice. My group, which is mostly a group of almost just me and my administration, my office. We call it the Hearth Psychology and Counseling Center, but it's me in private practice and one individual who's very part-time with us, and a full-time office manager.
Okay, all right. So you do this sort of therapeutic mental health counseling.
Yes, online only too. Ever since the whole COVID retreat from face-to-face contacts, you're looking at my office and at the me that people see.
Wow.
So it's very convenient. Not being in the same room with people, there are certain limitations in terms of the the amount of contact and what all you can observe and see. But it's the convenience of it. It certainly has some compensating value as well.
Well, that's great. If folks are in need of counseling services, how would they reach you? I think we'd be remiss if we didn't give you an opportunity to share that.
Well, we have a website. Usually that's the way in, thehearthpsychology.com. Hearth, Hearth. It's not heart, thehearthpsychology.com. And the Psychology Today, an awful lot of people find their therapy help from the Psychology Today website. I treat it a lot like I used to treat the Yellow Pages, where I have a listing in there and people can find me.
Beautiful.
So, now if I can refer back, I think that, one of the lessons I would like to have from that ordeal that you went through and that I experienced, with you close hand. And I'll admit it's not always true that if you do the right thing and keep doing the right thing and work hard and do the right thing, that everything works out. It's not always true, but it often is. And it sure has, with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very grateful for that. I don't ever take that for granted. I think that I am not only appreciative, but I'm also reminded in whatever one might interpret as the success that I've had in my career, it's because of people like you who have come alongside me along the way, even as a young master's level student. I mean, you taught me things. I tell people right now, I did a lot of psychological testing for you.
Yes.
And the reason that I can still speak the language and, the reason that I still, as a NCC, I never went on and did my LPC because I actually got out of the profession, started teaching. But my NCC, I still do 100 hours every year of continuing education units. And so I'm still very much connected to the profession and want to remain that way for the rest of my life because I owe a debt of gratitude to the field of psychology and counseling and mental health. And as I think about people along the way like yourself, you all have made it happen for me. So again, thank you so much for what you've done for me along the journey.
Well, you're certainly welcome. And I thank you for having me here. I'm so tickled to be, a part of this. I think of it as a celebration of your career and I hope, a bon voyage. People, I haven't heard what you are planning on doing, and maybe this isn't the time to go into it. Maybe you've already covered it.
What would you say to that, Kenny? What are you planning on doing?
Yeah, so my best answer first is always whatever I want to do, because I want people to know I'm not moving from a full-time job to another full-time job or even a part-time job. But I am a consultant, and I've been a consultant now since 95. So I will entertain proposals that people may make for doing limited types of training opportunities. I will still speak from time to time or do other kinds of seminars and, community engagement kinds of things as I choose to. I'm working on a manuscript I expect to publish next year, and I'm really excited about that. My wife and I want to do some gardening, something we've never done before. And we plan to travel. And we've got some really cool things planned in terms of the travel sphere. There's a big jazz cruise that's going to take place in June of next year to Iceland, the Netherlands, and Norway. So We're real excited about that. And that's just one of many trips that I hope to take. The New York Yankees are in the playoffs, and if they get into the World Series, I plan to seek them out somehow and go see a World Series game, which I've never done before. And so it's really literally whatever I want to do.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, Dr. Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you on, and thanks for enlightening us on another aspect of Kenny's professional and personal journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
See you soon.
See you, Kenny.
All right. Bye-bye.
And I knew that the Yankees were going to figure in. I was just waiting for the Yankees to come up. I knew that.
Well, he asked the question. I had to answer it.
Well, just understand that if it ends up being the Yankees and my team, the Dodgers, the Yankees are going down, buddy.
Well,
They're going down.
They can go down, but it would be my privilege to see them go down out on the West Coast.
Yeah, well,
I mean, like to be in the stadium to watch them go down while I'm visiting L.A.
Dodger Stadium. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Yeah, I hope to make that trek one day. That'll be nice. Dodger Stadium World Series. I think I'd like that.
Yeah.
Now we have somebody coming on now who I've got to get the mute button ready, because there is no telling what this brother is going to say or do. He's a wild card if there ever was a wild card.
Oh my.
And I know it, Kenny knows it, and the American people know it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Perez, the recently retired chair of or CEO, I'm sorry, president and CEO of Phoenix, who we were talking about at the top of the show with Judy Guerry, who was a great guest. Very kind, sweet, respectable. And now we have the antithesis of that with Dave Perez. Dave Perez, how are you?
I am doing fine, my two brothers. I want to point out that this is a repeat of Kenny's most viewed radio program some 10 years ago, titled, if you remember, Dave, The Bear, the Duke, and the King. And I think this could be a great time just to continue that conversation and really clear up some things that we've had some, at least say some different opinions on, especially after that incredible showing last night by the Crimson Tide over the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm sure you were glued to that set, Dave, and can jump in anytime. But nevertheless,
well, actually, I was glued to that set, because you know me, I always root for the black quarterbacks, baby, and that young man was tearing it up. He was tearing
now that's
it
interesting.
up.
You know, Dave, I don't see color, so I can't share that with you. But I do know that you would have been pulling for Georgia, Atlanta, with your connectivity to that big city. So I would have assumed that, but I didn't think about the other things that may have added value to who you would pull for. So, so we were on the same team.
Yeah, we were pulling for the same team last night.
Yeah, let me say we have shared this week together, us three.
That's true.
And now the final episode of a wonderful farewell delivery.
Yes. So let's explain to people. So we attended, first of all, Dave and I spoke at Kenny's the retirement celebration that the city of Huntsville, Mayor Tommy Battle, and our very dear friend Brenda Martin threw for Kenny. A nice reception, just a wonderful way to send him out the door. Dave and I both spoke. I think I was short and fairly eloquent. Dave was kind of long, kind of meandering, but you know, it was nice. And then Kenny and I attended Dave's retirement celebration Friday evening from Phoenix, and Kenny did a great job emceeing. Dave had some wonderful. Dave, I got to give it up to you. You had some really. In that setting, you had some really wonderful, nice, sweet reflections of your 47 years leading of career time at Phoenix. And you're one of these amazing individuals who actually your whole career, professional career, was with Phoenix, and you went from, I guess, what was an entry-level position, more or less, to becoming the CEO, ending your career as the CEO. And all joking and kidding aside, that is an amazing accomplishment. Kudos to you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said this in any leadership capacity, that a leader is only a mirror of his or her troops.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that credit doesn't go to me. That credit goes to everyone who I surrounded myself with, both of you. And even though, Dave, you didn't have a formal speaking engagement or part of my retirement, that was purposeful because, you know, I
have
didn't know if you could
stories.
stand. I didn't know if you could
stories.
reach the bar that night.
I know where some of your bodies are buried. That's why you didn't speak.
But that video presentation that you put together, I mean, I think stole the show. So you were there in spirit, and I know you didn't get any credit. You got credit from me.
Yeah, that's all right.
What a fine tribute. So
thank you.
I thank both of you, and I do include both of you in those troops. You know, my job was very easy. My whole career was very easy. Judy Guerry, who you mentioned, really was my moral compass. You know, taught me about that entire concept of professional ethics and professional commitment and professional behavior, and was always there with a soft directive or a soft clarification. And I quote her today, and seeing her there, kind of a Seinfeld episode, the George Costanza, when all the worlds meet. I mean, I had my work friends there. I had my tennis friends were there. I had my birding friends there. I had you guys there from our relationship. It was incredible, and there was no explosion. I think that was the interesting thing. There were so many similarities that night. We all shared in a lot of the same concerns and interest, even though, you know, we're not going to get into the king tonight because I know it's a sore subject with you, Brother Dave. I know you had to eat a little crow. I know you had to eat a little crow, but that's okay.
No, let's keep it moving, Dave. Let's keep it moving. And, let's start now. Formally, let's talk about Kenny now, Dave. What do you recall your first impression being of Kenny when you all made contact as he was joining Phoenix? Was once Huntsville Rehabilitation
I remember when Kenny parked that blue and white Torino with a smashed fender in front, and this little bitty guy got out. Now, let me tell you, this muscular looking gentleman here that we see today was not who showed up at our place. But he brought with him a world that I didn't know much about. And that would really be the Adventist community and the Oakwood connectivity and all of that. And part of how a lot of people think that I am inappropriate is I am just so interested. And I have to be careful because when you inquire about people's ethnicity or background or whatever, sometimes it's not taken very well, but it is all about respect and interest. And so Kenny, that was our first relationship where Kenny really would, tell me about all parts of those things. And he taught me baseball. We would go to the Stars. We would stand on the first base line. And I knew how to play baseball, but I didn't know the nuances of baseball. And we would just stand there, and Kenny would have this glove on his hand, just in case that ball came our direction. And he would say, watch the second baseman or watch the shortstop. Now watch this, Dave. And he really taught me. So we had this wonderful educational relationship about New York, his growing up. And I think, Dave, your words at his retirement were incredible with your reference to not being a statistic. But I knew all of that. And I knew all of that. And I knew, and Kenny mentioned this at my retirement, we loved movies together, and we did. But I'm going to say the thing that nobody knows, the relationship we had, when you talk about diversity, it's a very complex subject. And I mean, the word is thrown around all the time, but it's very, very complex. And we lived through a lot of different, very complex situations on the national scene. I recall the O.J. Simpson trial. I recall the George Floyd situation, all of that. Kenny was always there. Little conversations where something didn't feel right and, was that offensive or not? I would call Kenny and I'd say, this is what happened. So, and he taught me how to think like the people that I would not understand or just not know, when there would be a reaction that a lot of people would become offended by. And I would say, Kenny, what about this? And I just remember he taught me how to think like and get into the head of an individual, a group, a culture, that different experiences defined where that reaction came from. And that made me so smart. To any situation, I would apply that. And I would say, okay, where does that come from? And that allowed me to be a champion in so many scenarios, so many, personal scenarios at the tennis court or, in the coffee shop or whatever, when somebody would say something. And I would always have that book of knowledge that Kenny provided for me. And the neat thing about it was there was never any judgment from Kenny. There was never any offense from Kenny. Ask me the question, David. What are you trying to ask?
Yeah.
And we would work through that.
Well, and let me just say before I ask Kenny a question about you, Dave, kudos to you for even having the desire to be inquisitive about other people and having a sensitivity about that. That's one of your traits I've always really, really liked and respected. Kenny, what do you remember about your first meeting with Mr. Perez here?
So I think the main thing that I remember about Dave, and this has really been carried forward over the years, he was, and I don't know if you would agree with this, David, but you were just kind of cool to me. You were this guy that was interested in a lot of different things. You were active. You were a family person. I mean, we had common values. That was important to me. I watched the way you were deeply invested in the work that you were doing, and I loved the way this sort of community of people work together within the rehabilitation field. And I just remember David's passion. I remember those conversations that he talks about, especially about the things and the ways that, I may have interpreted or lived life. I remember those conversations about Wham sandwiches and, what's really going on there between that bread, I don't quite understand, but what is that now?
Should we define Wham for people who may not know?
Yeah, Wham is a plant-based product that is produced by a company that actually promotes healthy eating and healthy nutritional choices. And Wham was named after, in somebody's mind, I don't know when this happened, but I would imagine it was ham. People have ham sandwiches.
Ham or
but
Spam.
This was, or Spam. So
Yeah.
there was a Wham that was sort of like the substitute or the equivalent.
Right.
And so I would come in with my little veggie foods, and David would ask, well, so what's that now? And you may have even sampled something at a time or two. I don't really
Yes,
recall.
sir. I sure did.
Yeah,
I sure did.
Yeah, I think that happened. So David was just this cool guy. I mean, we talked about music. We talked about movies. We talked about sports. He was just a cool guy.
Well, Dave, that first meeting occurred, 44
years ago.
44 years ago. And you've watched Kenny's professional development, his personal development. You and I were both in Kenny's wedding. I think that's how you and I actually met. We were both in his wedding. What in his personal or professional development stands out the most to you?
Kenny is and was the busiest individual that I ever knew. You know, he would tell me about this radio show, and he brought me on numerous times, and he did it, and it was such a valuable information distribution process. And it just went on and it went on and it went on, and he never got paid. Now, you know, as a job, and he was a volunteer, right? So you do not see that level of volunteerism and that commitment. This was Kenny's show, and when it was time for that show to come on, it was going to happen. And he did it. He's still doing it. We're doing it today, but he had other things going on that were similar initiatives. Workshops, and he would pilot things, and they weren't necessarily related to what he did for a living. That was so impressive to me, that somebody would have such community commitment and do it without. We live in a capitalistic society. Everybody understands that. And when you do something, you expect to get paid for it. Not saying that's right or wrong. That is what goes on. But that wasn't the case with Kenny. Now he's working and he's contributing. He's valuable. He's a good employee. That still goes on. This other stuff doesn't compromise that. It's actually a parallel world that Kenny lived in. Now, we also did tons of stuff that didn't have a lot to do with those initiatives. We played softball together. We played football together. We played sports, and Kenny introduced me to his world. And we won't really talk about that group of individuals, because wild was a definition. I saw a man catch a fly ball in his bare hand. Kenny, remember, you were there. Stunning.
Eric Williamson.
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
And the kid and Jeff. And I mean, it was such, and again, here I am, like Kenny's wedding, not of the same multiple demographics as the rest of the participants, but there I am. And I'm playing ball, and I'm in the wedding with you, Dave. I don't know what your credentials to get into Kenny's wedding, but it may have been a diversity thing or something, you know. But that he was just so busy and so much energy. And even today, I mean, when people ask him, that's why he answers like he does. And I understand, you know, pushing on age 70, that I told one of the people that I was leaving, I said, I just don't have it anymore. You know, I just don't have the energy anymore. I have the skill, I have the desire, but and then, you know, Dr. Perry at my retirement put her hand on my shoulder and said, David, it's okay. You know, it's okay that it's your time now. It's okay that you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
How can you expect to demonstrate that much energy over a career and you maintain it forever? So she kind of just said, you know, it's okay. It's okay with me. You've done a great job, and this is your time. And I understand Kenny. I mean, he was a comet, but he never burned out. And here we are today talking about it. That is what was always amazing to me, how he was able to even do that. Oh, wait a minute. Now he gets married. Now he has a family, you know, and of course he already had a family, and he maintained that. It was just a Superman. And if a cake popped out of his jacket on Friday night when he was there, I would expect it. But let me tell you what all my family talked about.
All right.
That Kenny Anderson, man, is he smooth. And he was the most polished individual I've ever seen. He was so impressive. And I said, let me tell you something. He looked at the agenda, to my knowledge, one time to get kind of a feel about what was going to go on that evening, and stepped up there, like it was the Academy Awards and he was the host. That's what I had to follow, Dave. So, I had my remarks, but after Kenny spoke, I had to add a few little stories in there, little extra, just to keep up with him.
Yeah, just so he wouldn't steal all the shine on your night. Yeah.
Well, and he wasn't even, and here, he wasn't even trying, Dave.
I know.
That's just him.
He had his
low
York
speed
flex.
kicked on
I know.
that
He can't help it. He's a New Yorker.
Dave, and then you walked out with one of my relatives, and they said, "What about that David Person guy? Did you hear his voice?" I'd about had it then. about that. No comments about my remarks. They meet Dave and they go, "Wow, what a voice!" But it was Dave, that's my memory, Dave, and it goes on today. And when he says, like he did in our earlier session, that he's going to do what he wants to do, and that's right. Yeah. And jazz in Norway, God, what a concept.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that was former CEO of Phoenix and sometimes a stand-up comic, Dave Perez. Kenny, any final thoughts, Kenny? You want to direct it, Dave?
I would just say that 44 years is a long time, and to have the benefit of having had David in my circle for so long. He's not just part of my circle, he's part of my inner circle. And just like he said, I was reminiscing, as you said a few minutes ago, just calling me and asking me about different things. I remember one of the recent phone calls you made to me in the last couple of years, and you said, "What's going on with this critical race theory thing?" And David has always been one of those curious people who's before he makes a judgment, he asks questions. And that's one of the things that I've learned along the journey with him. I mentioned this about Judy earlier, about how just watching them and how they moved in those spaces was so impressive to me as a young person. And I was able to watch them and grow from them. And that's exactly what David has allowed me to do over the years. And the confidence shown in him in terms of coming onto the board and then becoming the board chair has been absolutely phenomenal. It's a great way to close out our professional careers, but I'm grateful to have his friendship for the rest of our lives.
Dave, thanks for joining us, man. Always good to see you. All kidding aside, you are just a gem, and good to see Brenda and the rest of your family, and enjoy your retirement. And I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of birding as well as that's one of his pastimes, and that's a cool pastime. So yes. I know you'll be doing some birding and
if I may close, but here's one of my expectations is that you two are still at the other end of that phone line, and I'm serious. And I mean, just because we're not working a job, there's a lot of crisis and situations that I will still not understand, that I will still reach out to both of you. And I've appreciated that ability, and we'll continue that until one of us or all of us leave. And when that happens, we'll have to connect. Now, I know where I'm going in that afterlife. Now, you two, y'all gonna have to work that out with yourself. But thank you so much, guys.
Well, I'm going to make sure that St. Peter ain't standing next to you when my time comes, because I don't want you unduly influencing the process, okay? All right? Dave Perez. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, man. Brother. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you guys.
Love you too, man. Dave will definitely put his thumb on the scale. Let me tell you some stuff about that David Person before you make your final decision. In fact, he'd probably be at the front of a long line of people trying to do that. So I need some grace on that great day, man.
Right.
I'm gonna need some grace.
Oh man.
This is, of course, 90.1 FM WJOU. I haven't done one legal ID the whole time. I'm just moving from guest to guest. It's like I've never done radio before. You think I would know? Need at least do a top of the hour and a bottom of the hour, and here I am just rolling along like Well, anyway, it is what it is. So, this is 90.1 FM WJOU in Huntsville. We also are doing this tribute to my man Kenny Anderson on Facebook and YouTube and on WJOU's pages on those social media sites. And man, what a nice lineup of people. We hate that we weren't able to get State Representative Rex Reynolds on. He was scheduled to be with us. Not sure what happened there, but I know you and Rex have had a great relationship through the years. Rex at one time was chief of police for the city of Huntsville. And I think that's where you guys, how you guys became acquainted, right? Or was it before that?
Yeah, he was actually, we were on the United Way board together. And I think at that time he was actually city administrator, but we knew each other also when he was chief of police. So,
okay.
Yeah, we had a great relationship on the board, getting to know each other. And then when I came to do my interview, we got a chance to reconnect and sort of reminisce about some things. And so Rex has been a significant part of my professional career, and was hoping that we would have had a chance to talk a little bit, but his schedule probably changed because he's a busy person, and we certainly understand that.
Sure. Well, our producer, Nisi, says that he had the dates mixed up, but she's going to get him, she's going to try to schedule him at a later date, and he sends his regrets. And I know he would have, loved to have been here for this, because I know you guys have enjoyed a very good relationship through the years, you and Rex.
Yes.
This is the final segment of this very special show where we are really celebrating your professional retirement. You said something very notable, I think, earlier that I want you to elaborate on, Kenny. You said you're not just retiring from the city of Huntsville officially tomorrow at 5 p.m. I guess that's when the actual time is. But you said you're retiring from professional life.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean?
Yeah, well, a lot of times when people retire, and this is a question I get all the time, what are you going to do next? And people are kind of alluding to the obvious of, what if's next? But the thought process is often you're going to do something else. You're leaving one thing to go do something else. And that something else is usually some sort of really structured thing where there's an expectation of you and some kind of a schedule and some sort of demanding activities that are associated with that. But when I say from my professional career, I've been a mental health professional, I've been a higher education professional, and I've been a public servant. And so in that context, that represents 50 years of work. I'm leaving that 50 years behind. It's what I did. It was good then, and there's something on the other side of all of that work that I've invested in, other things, other people, other processes, and I'm turning all of that back into me. So whatever I do will be done based on what I choose to do and what I want to do.
So I know you said earlier you and Sonia plan to travel, do gardening, and there'll be other things you may do from time to time. But if I remember something else that you said to me, it may have been privately, you're not closing the door completely on maybe after a year or so of taking on something that's a little bit more, I'll say not a job maybe, but maybe something that has more of a regular schedule with either with some other organization or company or just on your own.
Yeah, I would consider that. I mean, to the extent that I'm a consultant now, if there's something that appealed to me in the way that there was flexibility, there was the opportunity to perhaps mix work and travel, that there was I shouldn't say work, but responsibilities and travel. I kind of want to avoid that work thing. Even if it is work, I don't want to call it that. It's what I've been doing. But if I can kind of mix that kind of thing and really, again, have the capacity to say no to what I need to say no to. I don't want something that's going to require me to be doing stuff all the time. That's what I've been doing. And anything that feels like what it feels like now, I'm probably going to shy away from. But if it's something that, again, I can have a degree of flexibility and maybe incorporate some of the things that I really want to and value as part of that, then I would definitely consider that.
So what I'm hearing you say is you don't see yourself ever punching a clock again.
No.
But that doesn't mean that you might not take on some short term. I have a friend. I won't call his name or his profession, but he officially retired from a government agency, and now he does contract work for that government agency, that same agency, and it sounds like he does a fair amount. It's not a full-time job per se. Yeah. But he does a fair amount of work for that government agency. And I'm almost thinking maybe that's kind of what you're saying, that you might consider something like that, but it would really have to be on your terms, and you'd have to have complete veto power over what that thing is.
Yeah, I will not consider anything that will require the majority of my time.
Right.
Absolutely not. I will say no to whoever asked me to do that.
Gotcha.
If I can't, again, I'm going to be 70 years old in 3 years by the grace of God. 70, that's significant to me. That's the age of what our good friend Dr. Leon Sear calls the age of biblical promise. And there's some significance to that. I mean, some people live to that age, some people don't. Some people live well past that age. But, with good health today and understanding that there's still opportunity and still life in my body, I want to invest that in me. I don't want to invest that in other people and other things, at least not on their terms. I'll do it on my terms, but not on their terms. And I don't see myself, as you said earlier, punching a clock or, you got to be at a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning and, on a consistent basis. That's what I do now.
Right. So you have mentioned more than once that you are a consultant. And I know whenever I describe myself to people as a media consultant, almost inevitably the question is, what does that mean? What is that? So I'm going to ask you the same question. You're describing yourself as a consultant. What does that mean?
Yeah. So in 1995, I was a mental health professional. And I started a business called Maximum Life Enhancement. And the purpose of that business was to empower people for life through opportunities to train, to do seminars and more. And so at that time I began, and really there's a real intersection here with the National Children's Advocacy Center, because I was doing workshops. I was also doing proposals to major conferences. And when those proposals were accepted, I would have people come up to me afterwards and say, hey, would you come to my organization in my particular state and do such and such? And I had to start thinking strategically about how that might happen. So I got a business license. I did business cards. I did a graphic design and all that stuff in order to be able to think about strategically the template of providing professional services for people. And I've done that since 1995. And so when I say consultant now, what that has been reflected in over the years is a variety of things. Sometimes that's a training. Sometimes that's a one and done. Sometimes that's a multi-month training. Sometimes that's a multi-year training opportunity with a particular company. I'm going in perhaps and talking about things like team development, improving communication skills, being able to increase productivity within the organization and reduce employee turnover. What kinds of dynamics exist as far as that's concerned? Dealing with difficult people, reducing the potential for toxic environments, cultural inclusion and diversity, equity, inclusion, lots of different things to improve the workspace and the landscape that people have to insert themselves into for various reasons. Do a lot of youth education and motivational programs and training. I speak at a lot of events. So I have been asked to speak at graduations and churches and other kinds of things that provide financial opportunities as well. And I've also been asked to produce certain kinds of training materials for people. So taking my skills as a mental health professional, a higher education professional, and now for the last almost 12 years, a public official, I'm now able to promote myself fully as a consultant, free to make those choices when I can. I've had to defer those opportunities to other people at times or just say no because they either didn't have the time to do it or the opportunity to shift my schedule around. But this will give me absolute freedom to look at the landscape and determine when I might do something locally, regionally, or nationally, or maybe even internationally. And that will be a good thing for me.
I also noticed, Kenny, that you made references to, you called it your NCC and your LCC. What do those acronyms stand for?
Right. So a national certified counselor is the designation that I have right now. In order to get a licensed professional counseling designation, you have to put in so many hours of work within an organization that is supervised work, and then you have to sit for an exam. I sat for that same exam without the benefit of having the supervision hours, so my designation is NCC. Took the course, took the exam, passed the exam, and so now I have a national certified counseling designation. That requires me to maintain 100 hours of continuing education units every 5 years. That designation is recognized within the profession for various reasons. It also gives you an opportunity to provide input to the profession and be a part of different advisory councils and other things that enhance the ability of professional counselors to do the work that they do. And so I don't really anticipate getting into professional counseling anymore, but things like life coaching and other kinds of things like that, I certainly want to be able to do, and I can do it with that particular opportunity.
Okay, so again, just to be clear, if someone wants a therapist, you're probably not going to be doing that. But
that's correct.
But life coaching. What? By the way, what is the difference between life coaching and therapy?
Yeah, well, therapy suggests that there is some kind of underlying issue that has to be addressed. That could be a neurotic disorder, or it could be a psychotic disorder. So we're talking about if a person perhaps has an anxiety disorder like bipolar disorder, that they have generalized anxiety disorder, that they have depression, that there are varying degrees of challenges as far as those things are concerned that prevent a person from living the fullness of their life. That person probably needs a very structured environment with a mental health therapist. I've done that work before, but I could do that work still for an agency, but not in private practice. And so that's the difference as far as that's concerned. Working as a life coach, a lot of people get life coach designations. I have sufficient training and education and credentialing that will allow me to do that kind of work, which for me, I think about life coaching as helping people create a framework for their life. Somebody who says, for example, I'd like to experience a promotion from this thing that I'm doing now to this thing. How might I go about doing that? Somebody who says that I want to become more confident and better at public speaking skills. That would be a life coaching kind of a situation. So there are different kinds of things that there may be some overlap in, but those are general life skills that can help a person advance and experience progress in their professional or personal life. There may be somebody that says, listen, I want to learn how to be more effective in my communication or listening skills. That's not necessarily a psychological disorder, but that's something that somebody might want to do to improve the quality of their life, their relationships, and more. That's the area of life coaching.
Got you. This would not be a second chance with you and me on it if we didn't talk a little bit of sports. We sort of hinted at it earlier. We kind of dipped our toe in it with Dave Perez just briefly, but I've got here on the screen in front of me the New York Liberty whooping up on the Las Vegas Aces. and WNBA. And I'm an Aces fan, though I got to say that Liberty's looking really good. Looking really, really good. And I'm seeing a lot of celebrities at this game. Spike Lee, of course, who is well known as a Knicks cheerleader, who is cheering on the New York Liberty very enthusiastically, as enthusiastic as you've ever seen him at a Knicks game. Are you a Liberty fan?
I am a Liberty fan by default. I don't follow them, but they are a New York team, and they're also represented in the WNBA, and so I am a WNBA fan. I am really, really happy to see how that whole experience is being given a much higher platform, and but I don't necessarily follow them. But if you're a New York team, I'm going to sign off on you. I'm going to root for you. I'm going to hope that you win. And if you win, I'm going to join in the celebration.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to tell you, man, it looks like, and I could be wrong, and I'm assuming they're in Madison Garden. It looks like the garden is full, is what it looks like. And I'm looking here. I was just making some notes here. I saw, in addition to Spike Lee, I saw Tracy Morgan, the comedian. I saw Sue Bird, the WNBA legend, and I think she's a Hall of Famer. I think, and her wife, Megan Rapinoe, who's a soccer, a USA soccer legend. And there were some other people. I don't remember who some of the other people were. But this New York Liberty team is, of course, this is the playoffs for the WNBA. So you said you don't really follow it as closely. It sounds like you don't follow it as closely as I do. But if the Liberty makes it to the championship, do you plan to tune in?
Not much.
Okay.
Now I'm retiring, so I have a lot more time. And so it is possible that I will tune in a little bit. But, this is a time of year. We've got the NFL is going on right now. NBA training camps are going on right now, and they're about to, drop the ball for that and get that season started. The baseball season is wrapping up. Of course, the NHL season is starting up pretty soon. There's a lot going on around this. And, again, respect to the WNBA, but I'm not one of those people who overdose on sports. I just don't. I keep up with it. I'll probably stay connected to shows like ESPN as well as Get Up and some of the other shows that are out there that kind of highlight different stories and things like that. I love 30 for 30 and that kind of stuff. But just in terms of, I don't even watch every Yankees game, but I can. It's like,
what?
Not every game. I can't. I couldn't before. Maybe I can now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I just can't.
Okay.
I even today there's some games on. I was watching the Saints play earlier before I left the house. They were playing the Falcons, and it was a really good game. But I can't watch every game. Like, I'm going to an event after I leave here, and so it's just a trade-off. I love these sports, and I gotta just kind of catch up when I can. And the WNBA is kind of in there as well. If the Liberty's in there, I'm probably going to be a little more interested, probably tune in a little bit, but not excessively or obsessively.
Yeah. I got you. And I know that one of your favorite pastimes has been to hate on the University of Alabama's Crimson Tide.
Well, I don't actively hate on them. Let me do a little point of clarification.
Okay,
No,
all right.
I don't. I don't root for them, but I don't hate on them either. And if they happen to lose, I'm okay. That's all I'll say. But now let me also say, when it comes to Alabama teams, I'm Auburn and Alabama. So I don't really choose between the two. Okay. I'm happy when either team wins. But if they lose, I'm okay.
I could have sworn I'd have bet money that I've heard you say disparaging things about the University of Alabama's Crimson Tide.
I may have. I don't doubt that I have.
Okay.
but I don't actively. I mean, if the subject comes up, I'm not proactively engaged in beating them down, is what I'm saying. I'm not posting stuff online about, whenever they lose, I'm not stalking them and haunting, online and making comments against the fans. I don't do that. But if we get into a conversation and I find out that Alabama beat Wake Forest, I'm like, so what? What are you cheering about? You're supposed to beat Wake Forest. Stop all that bleating on your chest and all that other stuff. Stop that. You're supposed to win those games.
Well, you didn't watch the game last night, did you?
I watched a portion of it. Yes, I did. Oh, yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. And like I said before, I'm not a big University of Alabama guy. I did become a Nick Saban fan. For a lot of reasons. He's just, I think, a phenomenal coach on many levels that I appreciate, not just in terms of football, X's and O's, but this young man that they have a quarterback, this young black kid, Jason, whatever his last name is, Merritt, I think it is. Phenomenal player, phenomenal. And I'm gonna tell you, the kid, the white kid that was the quarterback for University of Georgia, which is where my son graduated, even though I'm not a UGA fan, football fan. That guy was great. Beck, I think is his last name. Great. Yeah. That is one of the best football games, professional or collegiate, that I've ever seen. And I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was down to the wire phenomenal.
Yeah.
Those two young men, Merritt and Beck, or Merrill and Beck, whatever the black kid's name is. Oh, okay. Nisi's correcting me. Jalen Milroe is the black kid's name. The quarterback. Man, they were phenomenal. And they had some phenomenal receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
a good game.
It was a nail biter. I mean,
yeah.
I can just tell you, it was loud and rowdy where I was. I mean, that game was phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, I watched portions of it. I didn't see the end of it because I actually turned in a little early last night. I was tired, but I watched portions of the game and had great respect for it. But I will tell you what I did watch over the last 24 hours, and that was a Prime special called The Evolution of the Black Quarterback. Highly recommend that 3-part series. Highly recommend.
And that's on Netflix?
It's on Prime.
Prime, okay.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to tell you what makes it really fascinating is that Michael Vick produced it. And Michael Vick is visiting with various quarterbacks over the years who've been part of that narrative, with black quarterbacks, coaches, players. I mean, it is a fascinating retrospective, looking at the juxtaposition of race relations in America, the intersections of social justice issues and social injustice issues. Of course, they deal with Kaepernick and more. I mean, it's really a fascinating conversation. Doug Williams, Dante Culpepper, and just everybody who's been in that line of succession from the very beginning. And 3-part series, highly recommended. People should check it out.
And I think people who are not our age, or maybe even some people who are, don't fully appreciate why we focus in on the black quarterback.
Yep.
There was a time when they literally were saying, and when I say they, I mean commentators, coaches, I think members of the general public were saying that black men did not have the mental acuity to be quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so there was a literal, they were not allowing, for the most part, any blacks to become quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You'd have one in the 70s, you might have one sneak through, and I'm talking about the latter part of the 70s, and I'm trying to even think, who would that have been? Maybe Doug Williams, maybe the short guy whose name I can't remember, who was really good. But it was very rare, extremely rare, and it was openly discussed. It wasn't even like a secret whispered thing. It was just openly discussed.
Yeah. This documentary goes through all of that, and they interviewed Rodney Peete, who played 15 years in the NFL, was drafted in the 6th round of the NFL and of the NFL draft. They talked about in the first almost 70 years of the draft, there were no black quarterbacks picked number 1, and in the last, I want to say, 24 years, there have been 7. So in the first 60 plus almost 70, there were none. In the last 24, there have been 7. So that indicates also there's still a lot of growing to do, but it also talks about all the success. But to your point about the history, that if you come across the conversation now and you see all the black quarterbacks, almost half in the NFL, starting quarterbacks are black quarterbacks, you think, oh, yeah, that's business as usual. That's the way it is, and I'm cool. But, boy, what it took to get there is an absolutely amazing story.
Yeah, man. And of course, we watched it happen. So, we know quite a bit about that history. But I look forward to watching this nonetheless. And I'm going to take some time to watch that over the next few weeks. Yeah. Finally, of course, we cannot end the show since this is a Kenny Anderson tribute. We cannot end the show without talking about 2 other things. That's your beloved New York Yankees, who are in first place. Who actually clinched the. I'm sorry. Tell me what they did. I know what they did, but I'm drawing a blank here. They clinched the American League pennant.
Clinched the division.
The division. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
So and there were times during this season that I think even you would admit the Yankees were looking so sorry that it just didn't appear like that was going to happen. So it's stunning to see that they were able to come back. And I think Aaron Judge had a lot to do with that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Judge has had a Triple Crown year. He's fighting Ohtani now for the Triple Crown. And this last day will say something about that. And we'll see. But yeah, I mean, they came out the gate smoking and then just went off the rails. Yeah. And, maybe that says something about teams like Boston who are eliminated, which, of course, that's the standard by which, New Yorkers look at the standings. If Baltimore's been eliminated, nothing else really matters.
Yeah, Boston, if they've been eliminated.
Yeah. We could be the wild card. We could have even lost. But as long as Boston loses, we're good.
There are members of our audience now that are barely able to contain the profanity from coming out, suppress the profanity from coming out and listening to you. We won't name any names.
No.
Even though I think at least 1 or 2 of them have a last name Alston. But anyway.
They may be throwing things at the radio or the image or here, or may start getting some text messages. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. So Aaron Judge and you mentioned Ohtani. That's right. Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers, my team, has become one of the most celebrated people in baseball. He has entered the exclusive 50-plus home runs, 50-plus stolen bases in a season club. And I say exclusive because he's the only one in baseball history to have ever done that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Baseball's been around for a long time.
Right.
And to be the first person to do 50-50 and then also know you have another skill, which is you're a 2-position threat in baseball, even though he hasn't pitched this year. Man, this guy has done things that definitely justify his $250 million contract.
No doubt. I mean, I'm assuming, would you say it's too early to say that he's in the Hall of Fame?
It's too early. But he's definitely headed there. And I actually cheated him. I said $250 million, $750 million contract, $700 million. That's
right.
That's what his contract is. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
on the merit of what he's done, he's going to get some recognition for the Hall as a 50-50 player, first in history. That will be noted. But a person's Hall of Fame credentials comes from the breadth of their career.
Mhm.
And so we'll have to see what happens. He's, multiple MVP award winner. He's definitely aligned himself in such a way that even if he has another, and he's young too, that's the thing. Even if he has another 10 to 15 years of play, he's definitely positioned himself for first ballot recognition on the Hall.
Well, I just want to say before we move to our final topic and get out of here, you think about the people that have preceded him. I mean, people like Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Willie Mays, Jackie Robinson, the late great Jackie Robinson,
Hank Aaron.
I mean, all of these people, Barry Bonds, Lou Brock, Ernie Banks from my hometown, Chicago, all of these baseball players who are Hall of Famers of note.
Yeah.
And I've left a lot of names off the list
Right,
that I
right.
just recited.
Right.
And he's the first
Yeah.
to do that, to have that unique combination of speed and
Yep.
power.
Yep.
Not to mention, as you said, that he's also an amazing pitcher.
Yeah.
It's just astonishing.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. I mean, it's mind blowing. Okay, final topic. We cannot end a Kenny Anderson tribute broadcast without paying tribute to your better half, the woman who is responsible for you being who you are, at least to some significant degree, the love of your life, the woman who gives you your swag, at least in part, because all of that swag didn't come from New York. My sister, in spirit, not blood, but my sister in spirit, Mrs. Sonia Anderson. What
Yes.
about Sonia? What about Sonia, Kenny?
Yeah, listen, it's important to acknowledge the people who are closest to you in that kind of way, where you have a marriage relationship. And of course, at my retirement event this past week that the city did, and I do need to say this also while I'm thinking about it, that was the city's retirement event. I've had a little energy from some folks saying, why didn't I get invited? That's what's happening in the spring, folks. I had no control over the invitation process for this event.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be a big celebration in the spring, and lots of people will get a chance to come out and celebrate and that kind of thing. But back to my comments about Sonia. So when I called her up on last Wednesday, and I acknowledge her as somebody who's been in my life and been supportive of the work that I've done. You can't be successful in this space without somebody who's supportive of the work that you do. And so it was important for me to acknowledge that as I do in this moment. And, Sonia, I think about when I was faced with the prospect of going to work for the city. I was at the time 55 years old, I think, and approaching retirement age and fairly secure with my work at Calhoun Community College, and engaging in a conversation about taking a risk on a appointed position was a huge potential deal breaker, and having that conversation. Yet Sonia supported my interest and supported my transition, as she has all along. And then even in the retirement conversation, saying that this is the point at which I want to retire. I want to transition from working every day to now having the opportunity to be retired. She was supportive of that as well. And so it's important to acknowledge her because of those reasons, that she's provided that support over that particular period of time. And without that, you could have a different outcome in terms of your journey. And it's important to know that a person's ability to focus on the journey and to land where you land is oftentimes directly related to the person that you're with in terms of your significant partner, your wife, your husband, your spouse, whoever that person might be in a particular relationship. We don't have children, but I think children matter as well. If there were still children to consider in this context, if they were young children, this might be a different experience for me. If I had adult children, this might be a different experience. So it's important for people, I think. The lesson for me in this whole thing has been having a supportive spouse is important in that process. And to the extent that a person has that, the journey becomes a little bit better, a little bit different, a little bit sweeter because of those kinds of things. And so as I thanked her for her support on Wednesday, we'll thank her once again for her support as we move forward on this journey. And I see cousin Erica Washington shouting her out as well, and also offering me, and as she, very good, cuz you know, you understand where we are right here, because I got one more day to celebrate this birthday month. So thank you again for the happy birthday greetings and also the happy retirement greetings. Glad you got a chance to be there as well, and look forward to celebrating once again in the spring with you and many others.
Awesome. Kenny Anderson, not leaving Second Chance.
No.
That's not part of your retirement
Nope.
plan. You plan to continue doing Second Chance. Now about to celebrate its 34th year, or about to enter its 35th year, I guess, coming up in November. And that's got to be a record, by the way. I don't think there's, I feel, I don't even think we have to consult a record book to know that there isn't a radio show in North Alabama that has been on longer than Second Chance. So, you know, kudos to you for that. And man, just, you know, I just want to say thank you for your service to this community. I've watched you do your thing and do it well, and develop as a civic leader, an educational leader, a broadcaster, because you know, you didn't go to school for broadcasting, but you certainly have become one. An MC, just a leader, man, you know, a speaker, and not just a speaker, but I've also heard you preach like a preacher. And the first time I heard you do that, I was like, whoa, wait, whoa, what? Where did that come from? You know, so just multifaceted person, multi-talented, and also one of my best friends in the world, man. God bless you. Love you, brother. And I thank God for having you in my life. And, you know, we're going to be looking forward to see what you do with the rest of the time that God will be gifting you. And I'm sure that it's going to be high impact, even if it is done at a more leisurely pace.
Well, thank you very much for your friendship and the journey. I have consistently and continuously thanked you for the opportunity to enter into this space. I was a counselor in 1990. And we were considering some opportunities to provide develop a show that would be supported by my then employer, Charter Retreat Hospital. And that's how this all developed and got started. And here we are some 34 years later, still at it, still trying to improve on what we've done over the years. I know I'm better for it. You've been an incredible mentor and tutor for me as I watch you also develop in your professional career. And I've been smart for, you know, oftentimes asking you questions about things or deferring to your judgment on things. And it's just made this whole journey a whole lot better. So thank you for joining me today and being the moderator for our conversation. You've done an awesome job, and got lots of people watching, lots of people chatting, and investing in our space today. And we thank you all for being a part of that as well. So Thank you, bro. And I will see you next week because you're part of our What's Going On panel, and I'll let people know a little bit about that as soon as I do my transition here and wrap the show up. So thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
You do the same. Y'all give Brother David Person, my bro, a big round of applause this afternoon. Big shout out. Let him know that you love him. Let him know that he's done a great job this afternoon, and we look forward to continuing the conversation on next week. We appreciate everyone who was a part of the conversation today, and I'll be back in just a moment to let you know about what's happening next week at Second Chance. I'm Kenny Anderson. I hope you're having a great day.
Perhaps you have some ideas, comments, or suggestions that you would like to share, or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on the broadcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email Kenny Anderson at mxlife@aol.com, or you can like us on the Second Chance Facebook page. That's 2ND Chance. And now, back to more of Second Chance with Kenny Anderson.
Once again, what a great show we had today. I want to thank my guests, Judy Guerry, Marilyn, Grundy, Daniel Kasambira, Dr. Kenneth Sullivan, and also David Perez, as well as David Person, for all the great information that they provided today. I am just so honored to have been on this journey today with these individuals who provided some perspective and some context on my professional career, my professional journey. That once again comes to an end on tomorrow as I retire from the city of Huntsville. And as I said earlier, as I retire from my work career, basically, because I've been at it a long time and I'm ready to do some other kinds of things, largely motivated by what matters most to me. Not that I don't appreciate what I've done and love what I do. It's just that I'm of an age and of a mindset right now that now is the time to pass the baton to the next person. And I look forward to doing that as well. Hello, everyone. Oh, I see Valencia out there. Thank you, Cuz. Erica, thank you, Cuz. Greg. Mariatu, I see you out there as well. And looking forward to having some great conversations in the future. On next week, it's What's Going On. My social and political roundtable discussion will feature commentary from David Person, Dr. Keith Burden, Dr. Freddie Russell, and Dr. Leon Sid. We look forward to having you as part of our conversation on next week. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. And I am already putting together a package of information. We're going to talk about Sean Diddy Combs. We're going to talk about Harvey Weinstein. We'll talk about rest in peace Tito Jackson. We'll talk a little bit about the debate between the vice presidential candidates. Mayor Eric Adams of New York City has been indicted. We'll talk about the NFL concussion protocol, the incredible Shohei Ohtani, who's done some work at the Major League Baseball season this year, and so much more on next Sunday. We look forward to you joining us at that time. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great rest of the week. Remember that knowledge is better than riches, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Second Chance. We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you. So please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.